Hello everyone, welcome back to Spooky Mountain. I'm Steph and I've got Jordi with me. Nice to have you.
Hello.
Yeah, we got another exciting episode for you. Hope you've liked the last few we've done. We've done some fucking real good ones, I feel.
Some very good ones. Our last one was particularly awesome.
I think so too. That was so funny and weird and creepy.
Spooky, yeah. And a lot of, I've seen feedback from a lot of people who listened to it who said that they found it very creepy as well, which is funny because you said that your story originally you thought was going to be like a fun, kind of cute one, which it was.
I mean, the name, Sam the Sandown Clown, you're like, that's so weird.
Adorable. Yeah, super adorable, but no, it was very, very spooky. I actually have another quite spooky one.
Do you?
This week.
Oh, okay. So what's yours about?
It is a possible death from the paranormal.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, I'm doing the spooky train today too. I've got a haunted place back in the UK for this one. So,
nice.
Yeah, this is a really it's a bit of a classic one. If you know paranormal and ghosty things, I feel like you probably do know it. But yeah, it's a really, really creepy place for sure.
I think it's been a while since you've done a ghosty one.
Wakehurst Parkway was probably ghosty one, but then it was like kind of half murder, half ghost.
Yeah, I know you did the poltergeist one in Australia.
Oh, the
Humpty Doo.
Like the
Humpty Doo poltergeist. Humpty Doo poltergeist.
The Holy Dilly
and
Ghost.
you did the Winchester mystery
so they're
mansion.
very like spread out, but so I think it's time. So yeah, okay, so we're both doing some paranormal stuff.
Oh, that's so fun.
Hell yeah.
This is like my vibe.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Well, everyone, just a lovely little reminder. If you love what we do and you want to support what we do have a Patreon. There is a link to that in the show notes. If you become a subscriber to our Patreon, you get access to our exclusive videos. We've got special posts on there. Sometimes we just ask your opinion on certain things. We've also got a private Discord group as well, which we're in. And at the moment, everyone's just talking shit about their pets and saying that they're vomiting and pooing on things. And everyone's just venting a bit on there at the moment. But it's a lot of fun. And otherwise, if you don't want to join the Patreon, that's totally fine. We would really appreciate if you could leave us a review or a rating, because that just helps new people getting to see the show.
Yeah, it is another way. It's a free way of supporting us because reviews boost us in the algorithm for other people to find our podcast. So that very much helps us. And we are also active mainly on Instagram and Facebook. This in its own way is kind of a way to also support us because, numbers count. So you can also contact us on Instagram and Facebook with maybe your own personal story or just to say hi. And we are on other platforms, but not as much as Instagram and Facebook. We're on like TikTok and shit like that. But yeah.
They're just kind of sitting there. Sometimes we upload stuff, but it's Instagram and Facebook is daily.
Yeah, it's daily. Yeah, all the others I just kind of look at on my phone and I think, I should do
something about this.
Yeah, and then I don't. But if you would like to contact us with a story or say hi, you can also leave us a speak pipe message, which you can find the link to that on our website, which is spookymountainpodcast.com, or email us at spookymountainpodcast@gmail.com. It doesn't matter what you say to us, we just want to hear from you, really.
Yeah, we love hearing your stories and your opinions and your reviews on how we're going.
Yeah. Give us a new review right now. Pause the podcast and give us a review. Not to beg or anything, but
I don't want to be like that, but we're being like that.
But please.
So in a couple weeks, or I think 2 or 3 weeks now, we've got our
live
show.
It's coming up so soon. I'm so nervous now.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit more nervous. I'm just thinking about like stupid little details. Like, what if I have to pee halfway through the show?
Oh, shit.
I'm thinking we're going to have to do like a little 5-minute interval where we both have to wee and then we'll both like get another drink. Because
yeah.
2.5 hours sitting down. That's what goes through. It was like 3 a.m. and I'm like, oh shit, what if I have to pee halfway through the show?
Oh my God, it's going to happen.
100% happen.
You and I both have terrible bladders.
Horrible.
So that's going to have to happen. But yeah, it's very exciting. It's going to be at a cafe here in the mountains in Woodford. The cafe is called 20 Mile Hollow, and they run an event called Spooky Hollow. And I think it's every 2 weeks they do like events and stuff. It's at nighttime, and our show is going to run from between 2 hours to 2.5 hours, and it's going to be quite similar to what we do on the podcast. We're going to be telling shorter stories this time.
So we're both taking turns, so we've got like a handful of like smaller ones, sticking to the same theme but just a bit shorter, so you get a few more to listen to. So they're going to be really fun. And check out the Spooky Hollow page on Facebook as well, because they've got all the events up if you are local. They have, they usually do like paranormal investigators and like all these really cool people that are like relevant in the field of spookiness. So it's really cool that they've invited us to do a show there. It's awesome.
I can't believe it. Like, I went there to see Bill Chalker, and it was just so great. Like, I sat there and I listened to Bill Chalker talk about UFOs, and I was drinking wine, and also you can order food through the ticket link, so you can sit there and eat dinner, and just listen, drink wine. It's BYO, and just listen. So lots of fun. Definitely recommend buying tickets. They're only $15.
Yeah, and the link's in our description of our Instagram. So that's where you can find the page to that. But yeah, I've got a question for you, Jordi. I was thinking the other day, because I know that I know now you're on the whole side of Yowies are real. Like you're in it now. You know, once you get in, you can't go back.
Oh, I'm balls
has
deep,
that
baby.
changed your whole opinion on the bush now? Like going in alone?
You have no idea. So, as you know, I'm in the Blue Mountains, so I actually go bushwalking quite a bit with Panda, my daughter, and every time now I'm like, is there something out here? Because when I did one of my stories, or one of our episodes was a Yowie story from someone that I know, and in the process of kind of like researching the story and everything, I found a website which is kind of like the Australian Yowie research website. And it's a site where people from all around the state and the country submit their real life
gone on there.
Yowie
it's fucking terrifying.
encounters. It's terrifying because you can literally go to your hometown and see that people have seen a Yowie there. And so when I was researching this story, I went on there and I was like, oh, I wonder what it looks like in the Blue Mountains. There are so many fucking Yowie sightings in the Blue Mountains, especially on certain bushwalks that I've taken.
Right.
I went for a bushwalk not long after we did that Yowie episode, and I was walking with a friend and we got talking about that episode, and she was like, yeah, this actual walk, my boyfriend saw something on this walk.
Really?
And I was like, hell no.
I honestly haven't gone on a bushwalk, like a proper bushwalk out in the bush for a couple of years now. Like I've done a lot of walks, but not really too far out into the bush. I'm a little bit nervous. I probably will. I'm going to a wedding this weekend in the Blue Mountains, and I've got a bit of time. I might do one. So me and Dylan might go for a walk. I'm so nervous thinking about it because I've done the same thing as you. Like I went onto that website, and I live in South Sydney. So I'm in a very like suburban kind of area, and I was clicking literally every single suburb trying to figure out how, like, before the bush, like, or before the houses were built, I'm like, what is the closest Yowie encounter to my house? And it was like an hour and a half away. So it's
Yeah,
actually pretty
I
close.
mean, Sydney is such a funny place because for years, I did bush regeneration as a job, and it was in Sydney. And even though it's such a highly populated area, there's a lot of bushland
a lot of like
in
native
Sydney.
parks that are still
Oh,
very.
yeah.
I think the really cool thing about Sydney is, although it is
Mm-hmm.
super like overdeveloped in the city, like it's absolutely crazy, but there's all these, you know, rivers and like marshlands
Mm-hmm.
entwined in it all, and then it's all just pretty much like what's the southern native park called? The one like
Oh, God,
along
I don't know. Near Cooks?
no below Cooks,
Is it
like
part of...
towards like Burning Palms, like Bundina kind of area.
Oh, God,
It's a
I've got no
massive
idea.
national park. And
Right.
then yeah, that kind of ended up connecting to the Blue Mountains and then the Central Coast.
Yes,
It all connects together.
it all
And
connects.
that's
Oh,
where
yeah.
all of the Yowies, I guess, would be able to travel through. It's
Go
all connected
through.
together. It's all
I
one big
know.
bushland.
There are huge areas of bushland in Sydney, and like I've worked in some pretty deep bush in Sydney where you have to bush bash
Yeah.
and you get covered in ticks.
Ugh.
It's like thick bush, and
That's where you'd find a
I
Yowie.
will. Oh yeah, I will eat my fucking hat if there are no
Oh.
yowies in that bush.
It's insane to think that people are on common bushwalks, like a trail, and have seen one. Yeah, if you're going bush bashing and going off the trail, 100% you're going to come across something, and they're going to be like, "Oh, what the fuck are you doing here?" Like that would be so fucking scary.
Imagine coming because they're so
Yeah,
big.
they're huge.
They're so big, and some of them are apparently quite intimidating.
Yeah, we've got the
with their
like,
behaviour.
Yowies are so they're huge. All the reports
They're
are
huge.
massive.
Yeah,
It's so
and they're
scary.
stinky.
Yeah, really stinky. I just want to like lay in the bush when it's quiet and just listen to stuff. Like I'm too
Yes.
scared to see something, but I think hearing it would be really cool. Like there's heaps of like really old YouTube videos, like 12 years old, of people in the Blue Mountains talking about their encounters. I think there's one woman in Springwood, and she was talking about her.
yes.
She's like on her back deck and faces the bush in Springwood, and she's talking about this noise that keeps happening all the time. She's like, it is so strange, like howling noise, but it's like nothing I've ever heard before, and it sounds like it gets really close to a property at night. And she was like, it's like, I don't know anything about like Yowies or anything, but that is not like a normal noise to hear. And I'm like, fuck.
And you know, like even just living in the mountains, you become so accustomed to all the animal noises that we have here, because a lot of the animal noises are very strange.
Yeah.
And I think just by default, a lot of the people living in the mountains are very involved with like flora and fauna and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because it's such a place full of nature that it kind of attracts a lot of like hippies and shit.
Yeah.
And they're very like
It's a
involved.
good point.
With,
like I think
you know, animals
if you're
and
a
stuff,
tourist
so they know.
and going up there, you'd be like, because you think of like cockatoos, kookaburras, they make screaming screech noises.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
you've got
Possums.
possums,
Fucking
demonic,
possums. Demonic as fuck.
100%
Like,
demonic creatures.
you could, no matter how many times you've heard a possum screech, it will never not be
It
scary.
will never not be scary. Yeah.
It's terrifying.
A couple of years ago, I was at my friend's parents' house, and we were just having some drinks at night time, and we went out the back porch to have a cigarette, and we turned on the light, and there was this huge possum, not even like half a meter away from us, just standing there, didn't move, and there was like 5 of us, and it was like, and I made this like scream, like, it just ran off.
I've never actually seen it make the noise. I've only ever heard it.
It didn't move. It like stared at us because it was like, oh shit, you caught me, and then just screamed and then ran off into the bush. And I was
Jesus
like, I'm going back
Christ.
inside. I don't give a fuck. Like,
They're scary animals because it's not just the noise. They've got like pretty long like claws.
yes. Oh, they
as
can mess you
well.
up.
They will
I
fuck
don't know
you
why
up.
everyone's so scared of Australian animals. Okay, like they do sound scary, but when I think about America, they got fucking like bears,
Bears
deers,
and shit. Yeah, even moose. Like
like,
moose are big.
we
and
don't have
scary
anything, and
and-
we don't have like giant kangaroos actually. Like, obviously, those massive fuck up like huge kangaroos. If I had one of those in my backyard, I would be so scared because they will kill you. But we got like the smaller joeys that are usually around, and they're harmless.
They're harmless, yeah. Have you ever seen two kangaroo like beef?
Yeah, I have.
Like fight.
Yeah.
It is one of the most intense and scariest things to
They're
see.
violent.
They fuck each other up. They like kick each other and claw each other, and like the big like daddy kangaroos.
We actually started rewatching the Mighty Boosh, and the first episode was the Killaroo episode where Howard has to fight the kangaroo.
I don't even remember that. It's been so long since I've watched Mighty
Oh my God, I know.
Boosh.
We haven't watched it in so long. We're like, let's start it again. And the first episode was Howard having a punch on with a kangaroo in the boxing ring. And the kangaroo is so scary. If anyone hasn't watched the Mighty Boosh, I highly recommend it. It is the weirdest fucking thing you'll ever see in your life.
It's so fucking weird.
It's so funny.
Have you seen the Crack Fox episode?
Oh, I love the Crack Fox.
That is the best.
That's
episode.
Dylan's favorite one too. Yeah.
It's actually quite spooky.
It's very fucking weird.
The Crack Fox with like needles as fingers. Yeah.
They make some amazing puppets. Oh, anyway, enough about whatever the fuck we were just talking about.
Everything that we just said.
Yeah, everything we just said. Let's just not. I'm gonna get into my story because I'm really excited.
Okay, yay.
So, we're doing another haunted location this time. Back into the UK because I think the last one was in the UK.
Okay.
Well, yeah, Sam. Yeah, that was the Isle of Wight.
Oh.
So we're in Gloucestershire, England, in a little town called Watton-under-Edge. Now, I think that's how you pronounce it. Watton is Wotton. So Watton-under-Edge.
That sounds right. Yeah, yep.
So, like most old UK towns, this is a very postcard-looking village, and it's really old as well. But the story is not about the town. It's about a particular building called the Ancient Ram Inn.
Oh, my God.
You've heard of it?
I can't even believe you're doing this. This is like one of my favorite places.
Oh, amazing.
This has been on my list. I started this story, but I was like, I'm going to just wait. I'm really glad that you're doing it because I enjoy it a lot lot more when I hear the story as opposed to telling it. But I'm so
I knew you know it.
God.
I was like, I mean, this is like paranormal.
This place,
like,
I'm so excited. Okay.
So if anyone doesn't know, this Ram Inn is very old. It's nearly 1,000 years old. And it's said to be the most haunted house in all of the United Kingdom. It's had a lot of attention with ghost hunters across the world, and all claim that this place is fucking terrifying. Like all of them that go there, they all had something happen.
Yes.
The ancient Ram Inn is the oldest standing building in Watton-under-Edge and was built to be an inn in 1145. So really fucking old.
That is so old.
Super fucking old. It also has some other old artifacts inside, like Britain's oldest wooden window frame. Spooky. Very spooky.
That's a very British thing to celebrate.
And then the earliest surviving board for the game Nine Men's Morris, which dates back to 1540. I have no fucking idea what that game is, but it's very old. So
that's old. Yeah, very old.
So during the reign of King John, much of Watton was actually destroyed by fire, and the Ram Inn luckily stood its ground, although some of it did burn. The main part is still what's standing today. From then, it would house craftsmen and enslaved people that built the 13th century Church of St. Mary the Virgin, which is just opposite the road. And it was burnt during the fire, so they were kind of like rebuilding it all.
Okay.
But during this construction, it's said that something quite dark had happened. It was built on top of the marshy Potter's Pond, and they had to redirect the water away from the building, which apparently is not a very good thing to do. And it said that it opened a portal for dark energy.
Oh, it's a no-no.
Yeah, don't move the water.
Ghosts don't like that.
But it doesn't end there, though. It's also said that the Ram's Inn lays on the crossroad of two ley lines. which one of them runs straight to Stonehenge.
Oh,
Yeah,
direct route.
So ley lines were discovered in the early 20th century. I feel like it's pretty interesting, the whole idea of ley lines. If you're not sure what it is, they're straight alignments drawn between various historic structures and prominent landmarks, and is supposedly recognized by ancient societies that may have deliberately erected the structures along the ley lines. So it's all over the world, these ley lines, and you can sync them all, line them all up with all these really important buildings. It's very strange.
Yeah, and a lot of like apparently haunted places do sit on like major ley lines.
So there's many in the UK, and the Ram's Inn lays on a crossroad between two, which is really intense.
Super powerful.
Yeah. After the work was done on the church, the Ram's Inn was actually home to a priest, but throughout most of its time, it served as an inn and would be the temporary home to a wide range of people. It was sold to Maurice de Bath in 1930 and had changed hands a few more times until it was finally owned by John Humphreys. In 1968, the Ram's Inn was falling apart. The drywall was cracking, the wooden beams had bug infestations, and it was rotting away. And the council pretty much just wanted to demolish it and widen the road there. Luckily, John bought the property for a whopping £2,600.
Oh, no way. I didn't realise he bought it for so cheap.
Yeah.
That's a
They were
steal.
just like, okay, you can buy a rotting building.
Yeah, sure.
But,
It's yours.
Now, this place was already known to be very haunted, but John was the one that really put this place on the map. He was previously a train driver, and now he was a haunted house owner. He immediately moved in, and he brought his wife and 3 daughters with him as well. So they were like, thanks for that. Thanks, Dad.
Thank you. Yeah, great fathering.
From day one, they were to experience things straight away. Not long after, John was living there alone, as his wife and kids could not be there any longer.
Yeah, fair enough. It seems like they were just kind of dragged along.
Yes.
And were like, this is where we're living now.
I can't even imagine being forced to live in a haunted house. That's rotting.
Especially this fucking haunted
this
house.
one specifically, yeah.
It's so, I'm sure you might get into it, like it's dark and dank.
Yeah. Super weird. Like, I would not be happy about this at all. So the Ram Inn quickly became the home for John, and he didn't leave. He was a bit of a hoarder, you could call it. The walls of majority of the rooms are filled with knickknacks, books, flags, strange ornaments, weird clutter, while most of it keeping sort of relevant to the haunted building and the occult as well. He lives in the old tack room at the far end of the building where the former stables used to be. The rest of the building is used for tours. So his room pretty much contains it all. He's got the kitchen, he's got a couch that he kind of uses as a bed. It's believed that underneath this room is an old well where murder victims were once dumped and gave himself and his family many nightly terrors.
There's definitely something about wells that, I don't know if it's like the water or like the disturbance of the ground.
That's a good point. Yeah, there is always something. Yeah, I mean, water and the well, it's a very weird spot.
It always seems to cause some kind of activity.
Yeah. Don't go near the wells, everyone. Please don't. When John originally bought the Ram Inn, it was meant to be a bed and breakfast. So that was his goal. However, not long after inspecting the property properly, it was deemed too dangerous and too old. People could not safely stay there.
The first thing that I can almost feel on my skin when I look at photos of this place is almost the mold.
Yes, you know it's got this dank mold smell and just caked of dust.
Yeah. And it's just wet. It's a wet
damp.
place.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Like, couldn't have said it better. Like, it's so old, this house. Like, super old.
Yeah.
And then filled with more old stuff as well. It's just, you can't escape it.
You can smell it. Like, looking at photos, you can smell
You
it.
definitely can, yeah. So as it wasn't being used as a bed and breakfast, only ghost hunters and paranormal investigators would be keen enough to explore the home, at a charge, of course. But yeah, let's get into it and do a tour of the house and some of the rooms. So we'll start off with the men's kitchen. This room has red velvet chairs placed around an old barrel acting as a table with a very old stone fireplace in the background. The room is filled with local and English pub souvenirs, a Ouija board, candles, taxidermy, skull replicas, and then in the corner of the room is a large hole where the concrete was ripped up, with a large wooden cross shoved into the dirt and a sign saying ancient grave. So that's just really setting the scene for you there. A group of ghost hunters in 1997 had permission to search for a sealed cellar in the area and tore up the floor, which ended up in them finding the grave of children's bones, along with broken shards of iron.
Oh.
After further investigation by the Bristol Museum, they confirmed the death of these children by ritual sacrifice using an iron dagger.
That's so hectic. Like, because you know that the location is a gravesite.
Yep.
So that's confirmed.
Yes.
And it's a children,
yeah.
like kids, gravesite by sacrifice.
It's so messed up.
It's so fucked up. If a place is going to be haunted, like, this is it. You know, like, just due to
that. All right, I know. It's like you don't even need to add anything else. Like,
that's it.
This is just the beginning. It's just so fucked up, this place.
It gets worse.
So unfortunately for John, the first night he spent here in the Ram Inn was directly on top of this grave. He claims that while he was sleeping, a demonic force grabbed his ankles and ripped him clean off his bed while also being tormented by a poltergeist who would bang on his window non-stop. Annoying. Or it could have just been a drunk person outside, but...
Yeah, or just because the house is so old, the window is just shaking in the lightest breeze.
You just never know. John ended up placing a large cross in the room, which apparently stopped him being assaulted in his sleep, but the banging on the windows actually just followed to whatever room he went to, which I think is really funny.
That's
look,
funny,
it could be a demon or a ghost, but
it does, yeah.
I do like to think it's the wind in the old house. But many people have claimed to think that there is actually a secret tunnel behind the fireplace in that room, and it would lead to the church's crypts. However, John thinks it's best not to destroy any more of the room for fear of making the spirits angrier, which I
fair enough
completely agree with in this situation.
Yeah, it does seem to annoy the ghosts when people disturb houses and stuff.
Exactly. So now we move our way into the former stables, called the Mayflower Barn. So we're still on the ground floor here. This room doesn't look very interesting. It seems to be very cluttered, kind of like a garage. Not really, there's like an old motorbike in there, just random clutter. There's nowhere to sit, barely anywhere to stand. However, the stories do not lack here. The TV program Most Haunted, which is... I must say, I used to be completely obsessed with that fucking show.
Oh my God, me
Love
too.
it.
That was kind of like the beginning of my... The OG.
And no, now I look back on it, I'm like, it was quite staged, but you never know. Like, some of it was I loved it. So they went here, and the medium, Derek Okra, was apparently possessed by an entity and told them all to head into the barn. Once they all got into the barn, one of the presenters was thrown to the floor by an invisible force and then started to beat him up and kick him while he was on the floor. I shouldn't be laughing, but it's so funny to think about.
That is so funny. How lucky that those cameras caught
I know,
that
right?
happening. God.
Yeah.
They've got good timing.
Oh my God, it's just insane. Like, being thrown to the floor by a ghost is crazy enough, but then it's like, he beat the fucking shit out of me. I was on the floor and everyone's just watching. Oh, so yeah, that happened. And then another ghost hunter had also claimed to be thrown to the floor in that same room, while others have seen a ghost rising from the ground. And also a 7-foot tall shadow person was seen running through the barn door.
Oh, running?
Yeah, running. Yeah.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
Terrifying.
John, he's also had some experiences in this room, just pretty much a lot of light orbs, and he said he was pinned against the wall as well. by
Ooh,
force.
seems like a very violent
Yeah,
room.
yeah, some angry spirits in there. So now we move to the stairwell. So it's a very narrow set of stairs that would take us to the upper floor, and these are also haunted, of course. There's a stuffed ram's head that just sits on the wall and pretty much looks down on you when you walk up the stairs. People have claimed to be pushed down the stairs, and in 1999 an image was captured by investigator Julie Hunt of a white mist moving up the staircase. It's a pretty cool photo.
Ooh.
John also claims that one time he bought an antique painting of a pastor and wanted to hang it in the stairwell, but when it was up, doors would open and slam shut, and there would be heaps of banging on the windows, and their dog actually just completely refused to go up the stairs when that painting was up.
Wow. So definitely seems like whatever is in this house doesn't like religious shit.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, all the dogs just got good taste and was like, I'm not going near that fucking...
It's ugly. Fucking bad taste in decorating.
Yeah. So now we move to the witch's room. So this looks like a typical bedroom at first, but the longer you look, the weirder it gets. There's a strange collection of decor in this room that is all completely mismatched. There's a green velvet bed, bright red curtains, strange floral tapestries, stuffed toys placed all over the room. This room holds an interesting person, though, apparently. In the 16th century, a woman in Wotton sought refuge here at the inn as she was believed to be a witch. However, she was later found hiding here and she was captured and burnt at the stake.
Oh,
yeah.
no. Oh, terrible way to die.
Super fucked up. So she said that she still haunts the room, and most people say that when they actually have spent the night in there, they find her just standing right next to the bed, just looking at them. So she's never like attacked them, but she just kind of stares at them.
That's just attack me.
No,
I mean, get it over and done with. That is one of my worst fears, is waking up to seeing something standing by my bed.
Yeah, 100%. I know, that's
Horrible.
Actually the scariest thing I can, because when I listen to all my spooky shit when I go to bed, the only thing that really scares me is when people will start talking about like, oh, when I was in bed and something appeared. That's when I'm like, oh, fuck, I am currently in bed. This is the worst thing.
You're going to fucking love my story then.
Great. Okay, great. All right. And also, there's a black cat ghost seen in the room. It's actually maybe the witch's cat. That's what a lot of people say. But then again, John actually found a mummified cat in the wall. It's like displaying it.
That's the cat.
It's like used as decor. So it's like it's probably that cat.
It seems like just everything is trapped in this house.
It's like you go in,
all the spirits,
and you don't get back out again.
You don't leave.
So now we move to the bishop's room. This room is said to be the most haunted in the Ram's Inn. It looks quite similar to the witch's room with the same type of weird decor, but this room is slightly larger and it has two beds. So we've got a double and a single, but they're bright red. The beds have just got bright red blankets, and then the curtains are bright red.
John has questionable
super strange taste. It's crazy. So during the time of it actually being an inn, guests would straight up refuse to sleep in the bishop's room. But people were unknowingly checking in and just staying in that house. They were in that room. They were like, oh yeah, I don't know anything about it, sure. But they were seen running, screaming in the middle of the night, trying to get the fuck out of there.
Oh, so even the people that weren't really aware of
they would not last a night in there. People have also claimed that furniture would be thrown around the room. Someone was pushed down the hallway while trying to open the door to this room. A plumber, while working in the room, claimed to see a Roman centurion mounted on a horse, and it came through the wall, which is fucking crazy.
Oh, you know, I
Upstairs
have
too,
heard
like
of- well, that's so I have heard of stuff like this happening, like people seeing like a whole group of like Roman soldiers walking through, but they're not kind of standing on the floor. They're standing
oh,
either really high up or really low down, almost on their knees. And
really?
I guess this could be because
The level.
the ground was different
Interesting.
back, because the
Yeah,
like
because this is on a very low lying part of the town, so all the town kind of rises up around it. So it could have,
yeah, so maybe it was
yeah,
higher
that,
up.
that actually makes sense actually. So yeah, this poor plumber had to witness that while just trying to do his job. People have also witnessed ghostly monks and nuns, ghost dogs in this room, and also a young woman hanging from the wooden beams by her legs.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Upside down.
That's terrifying.
But also the screams of a man who had been supposedly killed by having his head slammed into the fireplace.
Oh my God, this place is horrific.
It's so fucked up. This is just the one room.
Oh,
This is just the one room.
This is still the priest's room.
This is the
right?
bishop's room. Yep.
The bishop's room, sorry.
Oh, yeah. So Julie Hunt, who captured the white mist on the stairs, she had also witnessed in this room dancing light orbs, extreme cold spots, and a hooded figure standing behind the dressing table. If you're staying in this room, it's also best to leave your dog at home, as people have said that their tame dogs have attacked them out of nowhere while being in there. 2 people have actually had to be exorcised after staying in that room. They felt that something was completely off when they left. But that's not the last of it, because this is the room where people have claimed to be asleep in the bed and have had an entity crawl into the bed with them, then pin them down and try to do things to them.
Sexy time
yeah.
things.
So that also adds the, succubus and an incubus
Incubus.
to the long list of
yes.
entities in this house. Many people have actually been assaulted by these demons in that room and actually forced one person to flee out the window.
Jesus Christ, just left out the window. See ya.
So now we move to the very top of the house, the Weaver's Attic. A tiny little attic that is set up to be a bedroom, but was formerly used by weavers. Apparently, when John first moved in with his family, his daughter lived up there with a partner, and they would hear heavy objects being dragged along the floorboards. Others have also claimed to hear this while staying up there, and also as the bishop's room is below this, they can hear that too. So they say, oh, something's up there being dragged.
Right.
Mediums have claimed this attic is being haunted by a ghost named Elizabeth, who was an innkeeper's daughter in the 1500s. She was apparently murdered up there by being hanged around 500 years ago.
Oh, awful.
The room is really strange. It's got like a tiny single mattress that's just lying on the floor. There's a coffee table with a Ouija board placed on the top.
Oh my God. Imagine the hay fever just laying on that mattress on the floor.
Literally, there's
My
just
sinuses
cobwebs
felt that.
everywhere up here as well. It's like you would not want to stay in this room. It just looks super, super dank.
Dank, yeah.
Again, there are many reports of things happening where the ghost hunters come in. They've got photos of mist, strange electromagnetic readings, a sound of a dog panting while the Most Haunted team were up there. And also Derek from the Most Haunted team, again, the medium, he was also yet again possessed by vengeful presence while up there.
I think I remember this Derek guy.
Yeah.
I remember him. He was very susceptible to possessions.
Yeah, he was constantly just going, oh, no.
Yeah.
I'm being taken over. being taken over.
Yeah, I remember his accent very clearly.
Poor Derek. There is also a claim that this very old building isn't the start of the haunted history here, as there is a wooden post in the building which has been dated back 7,000 years.
Holy
This
shit.
location during this time was very regular with its pagan rituals and human sacrifices. So it's believed that the Ram's Inn is situated on top of a pagan burial ground.
Oh, so this could explain why it's not just like, ooh, it's kind of got a bit of a funny history. It like goes back really
Super
far,
fucking
and there's
far.
like
Yeah.
rituals and shit, and
Yeah, so it doesn't give it a good start. There are so many stories and so much history entwined into this location. It's hard to believe how this place wouldn't be haunted. But John Humphreys actually ended up being passed away in 2017 while still living in that home. Since then, his daughter Coraline has taken over the business. Apparently, the place is still kept in its really quirky state, but she's just very, like, cleaned it now. So apparently now when you go in there, everyone's like, the food's really good. It's really, like, but it's still got its quirkiness. So she's done the right, good businesswoman.
Yeah,
You can imagine, like, this guy was nearly 90 and he was the only one in there. He didn't hire anyone.
Yeah.
He as if he's going to clean the house. Like, it would have been so hard for him.
No. And he was a pretty
I think he would have thought it was clean
remember.
anyway.
Probably, yeah.
So the Ram's Inn, even if it's not haunted, it's a super interesting place due to how old it is. And having a building nearly 1,000 years old, somehow still standing, it's honestly amazing.
It's crazy.
The images of the place look really run down on the outside, but they seem to have hidden it a bit better on the inside. You know, they've got the old rugs and picture frames and furniture hiding up maybe the dodgy spots. The clutter inside the home also makes it pretty cool. Like going through some of those really strange antique shops, he has so many religious artifacts and animal taxidermy, creepy toys, strange photos of faces that have no place there. But I hope to visit one day. I definitely would go there, but I don't think I'd fucking spend a night. No way.
Oh, it would be hard to spend a night because it seems like there's a lot of shit that happens at nighttime, especially with the whole like Succubus, Incubus thing. Like from what
I would
I've
not want to experience
watched,
that.
No, it just, I wish we had some way. If you're listening right now, go look at a photo of the inside and outside of this place because there's no way to describe how dark and dank it is because it's all stone.
Yeah, all stone,
all like,
big wooden rafters above you that are low ceilings, and also the windows are very tiny, but then he's put like bright red curtains over the windows, so it's
over it.
really odd.
And the outside of it, and I think this is actually what's happening to it, but you can see in the photo, it looks like it's starting to lean over a little bit. Looks like it's tilting. So
the roof looks like it could collapse at any point as well.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm so glad. You did a really good job with that.
It's super fun doing that story.
I love this place. Have you ever watched Ghost Adventures?
I've watched little bits of it.
Oh,
it's
God.
so
okay.
Full on.
It's fucking Zach Bagans is very intense. So they did an episode at the Ancient Ram Inn, and they talk a lot with it's John Humphreys.
John Humphreys, yeah.
Yeah, John Humphreys. They talk a lot with him, but it's so funny. The first moment that they knock on the door and John Humphreys opens the door and kind of starts chatting to them, like he's already pretty old and he's very, very quirky.
Yeah,
and
super eccentric.
He's kind of like almost like Ozzy Osbourne a little bit with the way that he talks. But in this first scene, he's talking to them and then he just topples forward or backwards or something. He just like, he's talking and then he randomly just like falls down backwards. It's so funny and so weird. Like, are you okay, John? What is? But it's a very good episode.
It's like a ghost story. He's just like.
No, I think he's just old.
Oh my God.
I think he just
what the
toppled over. I don't, it's very funny.
I've got to watch that then. There was so many videos on YouTube of constant like ghost hunting videos of people going in there. I was like, holy shit.
Yes.
Crazy.
It's a hectic place.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you covered that. It's just the age of it. It's like
so
historically.
Rare that you can get something like that, because we do cover a lot of topics in America, I think, because it's such a big place and stuff. But for like building wise, it doesn't get that old. So it's really cool that there's something like this in the UK still.
It's so crazy. What a good
I'm
story.
glad you like
I
it.
love that.
I'm excited for yours.
All right. So today I'm going to be talking about a man named Christopher Case and some bizarre circumstances that led to his death.
Okay, I don't know about this.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I had heard of it like I heard about this story a while ago, but I totally forgot about it and rediscovered it. So
Sweet.
yeah, it's a very interesting story, and we know that this is a story that did happen.
Right,
There's like records and stuff.
Sweet.
So Christopher, he was born and bred in Richmond, Virginia, and he worked as a small-time radio DJ. And apparently Christopher was a very outgoing and accomplished person when it came to like personal goals and stuff like that. He was borderline obsessed with fitness and his health. He would take supplements and vitamins daily, and he worked out religiously 7 days a week.
Shit, okay.
So yeah, because of this, he was very physically healthy and very active, and he just loved to do this. He was a very intelligent person as well, and he was also just very well spoken, and he liked to spend his time just more so keeping to himself, staying at home while listening to music. So he had a very like habitual lifestyle. Went to the gym, listened to music, worked, stayed home, didn't really go out with friends or anything like that.
Chill.
When Christopher hit his 30s, he decided to make a big change and move his whole life from Richmond, Virginia to Seattle, Washington. He decided to do this as one of his goals in life was to become a music executive, and he felt this was more achievable in a place like Seattle as opposed to just Richmond, Virginia. When he reached Seattle, he landed himself a job fairly quickly as a producer of music for the Muzak Holdings Company, which was a company that made music for things like elevators and on-hold phone music and stuff like that, like background music and etc. So Christopher, he managed to make a lot of good friends in Seattle through his job, and he also kept in regular contact with his old friends back in Richmond. Though despite this, even with his life now in Seattle, he was still a little bit of a loner, one could say, favouring being at home alone as opposed to going out with friends and going to bars and socialising. This also meant that for him, he hadn't really had any girlfriends or even been on a date with a person for years or even at all. He was known to be the single guy. And you know, Chris was okay with this. He travelled a lot for work, and his absolute favourite thing was to stay in at home listening to old world ancient music.
Really? Interesting.
Yes. In particular, he loved
He knows what he
listening to
likes.
ancient. He knows exactly.
That's all you could want.
The perfect little description for him. Like, he knows what he likes. In particular, he loved listening to ancient Egyptian music.
What?
This is a very, very niche hobby. So he was happy to just go at it alone.
Yeah, there's not many people I would tell.
Yeah, I'm sure he was just a little bit like, not embarrassed, but you know, not too many other people enjoy that kind of thing. So yeah, he was happy to do it by himself. And as I said, Christopher travelled a lot for work. And so one day in 1999, he was sent off by his company, Muzak Holdings, to a town in San Francisco with some co-workers on a big business trip. It was on this business trip one night when he was at dinner with his co-workers that he would meet a woman he described as being an older woman. And apparently Christopher and this woman hit it off really well. They both had similar interests. In particular, she was also very interested in ancient music,
Random.
especially Egyptian ancient
Oh, no
music.
fucking way. All right.
Two people in the world who are very interested in this
Two only
subject.
people in the world.
The two only people, and they managed
That's
to
amazing.
meet. Again, this is a very niche subject to have an interest in. So maybe because of this, the woman really seemed captivated by Christopher. And Chris was also interested in her, but it really started to become obvious that maybe she was romantically interested in him. Though Chris was really not feeling it and just wasn't experiencing the same feelings as her. And he wasn't looking for anything romantic at the time.
It's like, can't we just talk about like Egyptian music and chill?
Yeah, it's like the fucking best evening ever. Just Egyptian music and chill, and that's it. This woman made it very obvious that she wanted to pursue something with Christopher, as she made some pretty huge hints throughout the night that evening that they met. She asked him multiple times throughout the night for him to take her home. And as much as Christopher appreciated her company, he was quite put off by a level of intensity that the woman emanated.
Oh,
In a way, she kind of unnerved him. She also seemed quite a bit older than him, at least 20 years his senior, he estimated. So he politely denied her advances and attempted to kind of part ways with the woman as she was beginning to really forcibly come on to him.
fuck.
And this was making him feel very uncomfortable with what she was saying, to try and get him to go home with her, repeatedly making advances despite him saying no.
Oh god, that's horrible. I hate that.
It's horrible. Yeah, no means no, motherfucker. Christopher, attempting to part ways with this woman, apparently made her really mad. She became visibly infuriated. And then she said something very strange to Christopher. She leant forward and told him that she was actually a witch and she was going to put a curse on him and he would be very, very sorry.
Oh.
She said to him that he would be dead within a week. So as horrible as this is, it really actually didn't affect Chris at all.
That would have fucking scared the shit.
Oh,
my
me
god.
too.
As much as like I don't know if I believe in that stuff, someone just saying that to me, I'm like, this is what how do I fix
Putting
this?
that out into the consciousness, into the world, it's like, oh, it's not good juju, you know. But yeah, this didn't affect Chris at all. He didn't believe in the paranormal whatsoever. He definitely wasn't superstitious, wasn't religious. He was very skeptical. So he just kind of shrugged this threat off and walked away from her. When he returned to Seattle, back home the next day, he had almost totally forgotten about this weird encounter, and he was just happy to be back home amongst his music and his comforts. And at least for the first couple of days after arriving home from the work trip and after his encounter with the woman, everything was normal and fine, back to his usual life of music and work. Though not all would stay as normal and fine as originally thought. It was on the 14th of April, so just over 48 hours after arriving back home, that Chris made a really strange phone call to a good friend of his who was named Sammy. So he had known her, he'd known Sammy for years, a really long time, and they would regularly have, you know, phone calls together.
Right.
He told Sammy about the weird encounter he had with the woman just a couple of nights before, and her telling him she had cursed him. And then he started to explain that he had been kept up all night, that night, by the sound of weird muttering and whispering from somewhere in his home.
Oh my god, that is horrible. You know what? I think if someone actually did that and said, like, I'm going to put a curse on you, you'll be dead, I would tell every single fucking person that and be like, if I die, this is who did it.
This is what it is. Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. It's like protecting us. Like, even if you, I don't know, it does seem quite scary, doesn't it? So at first, Chris, he didn't know where this whispering was coming from. So he got up and he discovered that it was coming from his kitchen area.
Right.
The whispering then stops as he got closer to the kitchen area, but quickly starts up again. But this time it's coming from his laundry room. He goes into his laundry, but the second he opens up the laundry door, the whispering instantly stops again.
Of course.
Yeah. He also told Sammy that it was at this moment when he entered the laundry, he saw a weird, unidentified and black shadow moving about his apartment, which this night he was seeing more in his peripheral vision while standing at the laundry. So it wasn't like a direct sighting. This automatically makes him think there's an intruder in his home. Like, he's skeptical. He doesn't think that it's anything paranormal. He thinks that someone's broken into his home. So he runs around and turns on all the light switches in the apartment, but he finds nothing. Then after a few moments of silence and contemplation, he once again hears the whispering start up. But this time it's coming from his bedroom. All night he hears these voices and sees a black shadow hiding in the corners of his apartment that seem to just avoid his direct eyesight. And he also felt like he was being watched all through the night, despite him being the only one in his home.
That is so full on. Oh my God.
It's full on, and you're the only one in this apartment.
Yeah.
You know you're the only one there, so you can't even be like, oh, it was someone else, but also you don't have anyone else to kind of turn to.
Exactly, and you know that feeling when someone's watching you. To have that constantly would be crazy. Any room you go into, like...
exactly, especially for someone who's skeptical.
Yeah,
so
true,
it's like, you aren't unnerved easily by shit like this, you know, but you feel like you're being watched. So this one phone call would be the first of 3 that Chris would make to Sammy over the next few days, with each one becoming more and more strange. It was the next night that, unfortunately, Chris would experience much of the same thing as the night before. He was hearing whispering, and same as before, once he thinks he's located the area of where the whispering is coming from, they just disappear and move to a different part of his home. Though the difference on this night was that when Chris was seeing the shadow figures in his peripherals, he was able to catch it in his eyesight and actually make out a silhouette of a humanoid shaped figure within the shadow. God. The occurrences within his apartment seemed to be the same as the night before, but just escalated and way more intense. So now we're on the 15th of April, and Chris climbs into bed, absolutely exhausted from not sleeping at all the past few nights after being harassed by what's taking place in his apartment. He figures that he's so sleep deprived that what he's been witnessing is probably just a hallucination from the sleep deprivation. He manages to finally fall asleep, but not for long before something else absolutely terrifying happens. Chris wakes up from his deep sleep. He's totally paralyzed, and he can hear the whispering again. Just so scared, laying there in darkness while frozen, things only got worse. The whispering moves from outside his bedroom to the inside of his closet, which is just next to where he sleeps. Then it moves from the closet to underneath his bed. Oh God. Yeah, and he's paralyzed as well, so he can't even fucking move. So yeah, he's absolutely paralyzed. The whispering from underneath his bed gets louder and louder before suddenly a black shadowy figure slowly starts to rise from underneath his bed. Yuck. Right next to where his head is.
Oh, what the fuck? No.
Yep. The shadow figure begins to just stand up and tower over him, and he's staring down at Chris. This figure reaches its hands down towards Christopher's neck and begins choking him with so much strength. This attack was so intense and violent that Chris actually started to be lifted off his bed by his neck.
Oh my God, okay. Right.
And then he's thrown down with incredible force once the choking stopped. And it's at this moment that the dark figure vanishes as well. After the attack stopped and he's finally able to move again, Chris is sitting up in his bed, just kind of in a state of shock. And he notices that on the end of every single fingertip on his hand, there is a very precise and deep incision. And these incisions had totally stained his bed with blood.
What? That's weird.
It's very strange, like very precise incisions,
Like
you know,
little
not just like
slices?
slices. Yeah, exactly. He had absolutely no memory or knowledge of how this happened. By this point, his neck was also just so sore from being choked.
Yeah.
And when he felt around the area that was being strangled on his neck, he noticed there were painful swelling marks that had formed. So it wasn't just his imagination. Something had actually choked him. Chris immediately calls Sammy to tell her about what happened. And Sammy has said that when Chris called her, he sounded so petrified and so different to the Chris that she knew. He was extremely fearful and scared for his life. So Sammy tried to convince him to call the police. Chris said that he couldn't do this because he wouldn't even know what to say to the cops. That there was a shadowy figure choking him and there's ghost voices in his apartment. This just wasn't an option. Chris decided that the best way for him to deal with this was just in his own way. So even though he was a very skeptical and not religious person, this experience scared him so much that the next day he went into a religious bookstore, a bookstore called Evangel Incorporated, to search for religious books, items, to try and find ways to protect himself against whatever was hunting him in his home. The man who served him, whose name was Rodney Higuchi, said that Christopher entered the store and headed straight over to where they stock all their crucifixes.
Oh, look.
He picked up a large handful of them and headed over to the cashier and told Rodney how he was going to use them to protect himself against a paranormal attack within his home.
That would be so wild, being the store guy and saying that. You'd be like, bro, like if you need that many, I think you
yeah, go get a priest.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do like an exorcism or something. Like, what the
exactly.
fuck?
Yeah, it's a bit concerning.
Wow.
So at this point, Rodney also recommended that he look at some of the books that they had in the shop, which were on the topic of protecting yourself against like witchcraft and the occult, in which Chris took his advice and purchased a number of books. So he bought a whole lot of shit from this shop to try and help his situation. Along with doing this, Christopher also totally filled his house with burning candles. There were candles filling every surface of the apartment. Wow. He also poured lines of salt in every doorway of his home, every corner of every room, and along every single skirting board in the apartment.
He's so crazy. Like something absolutely happened for a guy like this to just
exactly
and
so suddenly. Like he was so like not to say that he was super skeptical, but he was super logical. Yeah. He didn't believe
definitely
in this
comes
shit.
off like, you know, he makes elevator music. All right, you know
exactly. If anyone isn't going to believe in the paranormal, it's someone who makes elevator music. Like, I mean, come on. So throughout his apartment, he had also scattered notes detailing how to defend yourself against evil spirits and malignant entities. He hung all the crucifixes that he purchased all over his apartment. This behavior was a stark contrast from the regular Chris, who was always very sure of himself, very logically minded, and as I said, had never been superstitious or religious in any way. This change had occurred only over a matter of days, and it changed so drastically. I think it's also important to mention that Christopher never had any history of mental health issues or anything of that kind of nature. And I don't want that to sound like, oh, only crazy people can experience this. But, you know, it is an important thing to note.
Yeah.
I think.
And you know, even if he did, it's like nothing traumatic happened to him to have this all of a sudden just happen.
It's a kick off. No, nothing happened.
Like that, so, yeah.
Exactly. So this was very out of the ordinary for this man. For throughout his whole life, led a very sure, rational, and healthy existence. He had gone over into the world of almost obsession to a point where it was becoming detrimental to his well-being. So now we're at the 16th of April, and we're not exactly sure what happens to Christopher at this time. But we do know that Sammy tried to contact Chris on his landline because this was in a time before mobile phones.
Okay.
And Sammy couldn't get through to him. He obviously wasn't home or obviously wasn't answering her calls. So she was very concerned for him because of the phone calls that had taken place over the previous nights. So she actually ends up contacting the police so they can do a welfare check on Chris. When the police turn up to his apartment, they don't find him at all, and there's no clues as to where he's gone. There really isn't much more than this that they can do without someone filing a missing persons report. So the police leave Chris's apartment, and Sammy continues to just go to work for the day after the police tell her if he still doesn't show up over the next few days to let them know. After finishing up her day at work, Sammy gets home and realizes that she's actually received a missed call from Chris. Hopeful, but also kind of worried, she begins to listen to it. And this voicemail makes her even more concerned than she already was. Chris begins talking in the message in a tone of voice that was totally different to the panicky, scared tone that he had the previous nights when she had spoken to him. He sounded not calm, but utterly defeated and resigned. He said in the voicemail that he's absolutely under attack by paranormal forces, and tonight they're going to kill me. There is nothing more that I can do other than what I've already done, and if I die, you know what's happened to me.
Oh my fucking God.
It escalated pretty fucking fast.
That is so crazy and sad. You just...
It's so sad,
I'm going to die. Like, this is it.
I'm going to die. That's it. Yep. So for one reason or another, Sammy decides that she's just going to sleep on it and contact Chris in the morning to make sure he's okay instead of calling the police right then and there. The next morning, which was April the 18th, before Sammy had even had the chance to contact the police about this voicemail message, word had gotten out to her from family and mutual friends of her and Chris that Chris hadn't actually turned up to work that day, which was extremely unlike Chris, who loved his job and was very dedicated to it. He never missed a day. And these people were worried about him, also knowing that he'd been having a bit of a hard time lately.
Yeah.
She decided that now is definitely the time to contact the police again for them to do another welfare check on Chris. The police agree and make their way back to Chris's apartment, but this time his front door was completely unlocked. They enter the apartment and they're faced with an incredible scene of hundreds of candles all burnt down to the wick all over the home with wax melted everywhere, crucifixes hung on every section of wall space, scribblings of occult and religious writings on paper strewn all over the house, and salt literally just spilled through the whole apartment. Another thing, sorry, I almost forgot to I forgot to write this part, but I remember reading that also in multiple rooms of the house there was like old ancient music playing softly.
Oh my God.
Which is super
That's
creepy.
so scary.
They start to cautiously search every room of the apartment looking for Chris before they reach the bathroom. They enter the bathroom and what they see before them is Chris's body. He was dead and he was in his bathtub that had no water in it, with candles and crucifixes surrounding the whole tub.
Oh my God.
Chris was fully clothed, half leaning, half kneeling, with his face facing up against the wall, with his hands tucked into his chest, almost in a praying position. There was absolutely no sign of external injury.
What?
There was absolutely no sign of how he died at the scene whatsoever. When the coroner investigated Chris's body, he found that Chris had died of natural causes, which means he had a heart attack. He was only 35 at the time. His friends and family are still to this day not satisfied with just natural causes being the manner of his death. That's not to say that a healthy, happy, young 35-year-old couldn't have a heart attack, but it was extremely strange for this to be his manner of death. Yeah. It turns out Chris did die within the week of the curse, just like the woman told him. Was this just an extremely poorly timed heart attack, or was it just the curse?
The curse.
There was the fucking curse. All of this happened over just a matter of days. Chris went from a happy, healthy man in his 30s to an obsessive, scared individual. I mean, he worked out every day. He ate healthy, vitamins, supplements, all that kind of shit. And bam, he just died.
Like, it's already just, it's a mystery on its own without the whole event of, like, the candles and knowing all of that. Like, if he just died on his own in his home, like, by a mysterious heart attack. That's weird enough. It does happen,
and in the
but it's
bathtub as well.
Yeah, in the bathtub, the position he was in, but he gave warnings, He said it was going to happen. He did not kill himself. So he didn't, like, plan this. He just knew it was going to happen. Like, they must have, scared him so much. Like, I don't even know.
That's the thing is, like, this is what I saw one person say about this, is that maybe the stress of what he was going through or what he thought he was going to gave him a heart attack. But, I mean, it's very wild for him to be in that position in the bathtub after a heart attack, after no health issues really at all. Then after just a few days of telling people, it wasn't just Sammy that he told many people, many friends and family, that he was being, like, hunted by something, and so we know all this information because police investigated his death because it was a very weird situation. And so they spoke to Sammy, they spoke to family, friends, that bookstore worker, and that's how we know all this information about this kind of timeline is because they were like, he said that this happened, and his story was exactly the same to each person that he was telling. Like, it didn't vary.
Oh, that's really
all.
interesting that he was able to leave that timeline. Yeah, because that would have been way more mysterious. Like, just like, can you just do a welfare check on him? And then all of a sudden there's just crucifixes and shit. And they're like, wait, what?
Yeah. It's very, very strange. So,
That's
I mean, people are still very baffled about Yeah, like a possible death by curse or death
Yeah.
by haunting, it seems
I mean,
pretty solid,
I feel like there needs to be a whole other. I don't know if we'll ever get to that point, but there needs to be like another way to look into the deaths, where the
I know.
paranormal can get involved. Like
An aspect, just a whole nother aspect of it,
Yeah.
it's could you imagine just what, like, even if what he was experiencing wasn't a true paranormal haunting and it was something to do with a mental health episode, but it doesn't matter. Could you imagine what this guy experienced
days.
before he
Yeah.
died?
Oh,
In a few days.
Yeah, like I can't even begin to imagine how that would have been. Like what would have happened.
It would just
That's so scary.
terrify the pants off you.
That is so
It would
that
be
is
so scary.
actually the scariest story you've told.
Oh, you
I think
reckon?
so. For me, that really scares me. Like
It's
just to
pretty
think that
scary.
could happen
Also-
to just a healthy guy who just wanted to avoid this annoying woman who kept sleazing onto him.
Exactly.
And she was like, you know what? Fuck you. You're going to die in a few days. And then all that
Yeah, I'm just
happens.
gonna
And,
put a
like, he
curse
didn't
on
do
you.
anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong.
No. And I think a really interesting point of the story is that the first night that all this starts to happen, he didn't straight away jump to like, oh, my house is haunted or whatever.
Yes.
He thought there was an intruder,
Yes.
a human intruder
It's
in
very,
his
it was a
home.
very slow start, and then the whispers and okay, it's getting a little bit more intense now. Now, yeah, no, I'm seeing things and they're hurting me. So
It escalated very quickly.
wow, I hope that woman is in prison, but obviously not. So
Yeah, I want to know who she
I'd love
is.
to
She's
know
a
who
pretty
she is.
powerful
Yeah,
woman.
yeah, that's some crazy power she's got there. So
Oh, yeah.
fucking hell. Yeah, well, I'm glad we're doing this one in the day because I
I know,
have some time
yes.
to watch some happy things before I go to sleep because that is terrifying.
Yeah, some comedy. Yeah, where everyone listening, we're recording this in the daytime. We usually record at nighttime, so it's a bit
It's
strange.
a bit strange. I know. I've got stuff to do. I think it's like about to start raining here.
Oh my god, it's movie time. Let's put on a
I
movie.
can't. I wish. I've got so many errands to do.
Oh
I was gonna go for a
no.
walk to the shops to get all this stuff done. So, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm. Oh my god, that was so scary. That story.
Yeah, yours was like so awesome. That the ancient ramen is like
It would be cool. It would be so cool to go there. I'd love to go there.
so incredible. Yeah. I mean, for anyone listening who hasn't, as I said, like hasn't seen photos or whatever, there is a lot of footage out there. So I
heaps.
recommend you go check it out because it is a very cool place.
Super cool. Yeah. So yeah, another
great episode.
scary-
Yeah, thank you so much for everyone listening. And yeah, if you did want to maybe join up to Patreon, you can do that. You can find our Patreon on our
We've
website.
got lots of lovely patrons at the moment, so thank you so much for your support,
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you so much, our beautiful patrons. But yeah, thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. We'll talk at you next week.
See you then. Bye.
Bye bye. This episode of Spooky Mountain was created and recorded on land of the original custodians, the Gundungurra and Bidjigal people. We pay respects to the past, present, and emerging mob. My name is Jordi, and I'm a proud Gunya woman. Thank you for listening.